William and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, have cultivated an image of stable, relatable modernity. Yet the pressure on them is immense. They must be the unshakable core, the steady ship amidst the turmoil. Catherine's own poised public persona belies the immense pressure of her position, particularly as she has gracefully assumed a leading role within the family. Their children represent the future allure of the monarchy, but this also means their upbringing, their exposure, and their privacy are matters of intense strategic and emotional calculation. The crisis for William is one of legacy. Can he preside over a unified, relevant monarchy when its most compelling and complexing narrative is one of familial estrangement? Beyond the interpersonal dynamics lies the institutional emotional crisis, a deep-seated anxiety about relevance and survival in the 21st century. The monarchy derives its power from continuity, tradition, and mystique, yet modern demands are for transparency, accountability, and emotional authenticity, values often at odds with a thousand-year-old institution. The Sussex saga demonstrated the perils of both suffocating tradition and radical departure. The king's efforts to modernize, focusing on sustainability, interfaith dialogue, and a more focused working roster, are pragmatic, but they must combat a growing tide of Republican sentiment in the Commonwealth and apathy among a younger generation less impressed by pageantry and more concerned with equity and cost. Each family drama amplifies questions about the institution's purpose. Is it a force for national unity or a source of distracting soap opera? Is it a value-for-money tourist draw or an archaic bastion of privilege? This institutional anxiety trickles down into the family psyche. Every member knows they are not just individuals, but custodians of an ancient brand. A personal misstep is an institutional crisis. A private failure of compassion becomes a failure of the entire idea of a family on the nation. The emotional toll of living as a symbol where your human need for conflict resolution, grief, or error must be suppressed or perfectly managed is immense and often invisible.
The image is etched into the collective memory. A diminished balcony at Buckingham Palace, a deliberate tableau of the working monarchy's core. Yet, behind the uniforms and waves, the carefully curated symbolism cannot fully conceal the lines of strain around the eyes, the subtle distance between figures, the palpable weight of an institution, and the family under unprecedented pressure. To describe the current state of the House of Windsor as an emotional crisis risks the very sensationalism the firm has long sought to avoid. However, to deny the profound compounding layers of personal loss, public scrutiny, generational shift, and existential questioning it now faces would be a greater disservice. This is not merely a fleeting moment of heartbreak, but a protracted, delicate navigation of a monarchy at a crossroads, where every private grief is magnified and every public step is a potential misstep.
The emotional topography of the modern royal family was irrevocably altered by the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. Her death was not just the loss of a monarch, but the disappearance of the family's matriarchal bedrock, its ultimate arbiter, and its most potent symbol of continuity. For the public, it was the end of a reassuring era. For the family, it was a deeply personal bereavement, yet one they were compelled to experience on the global stage, their every flicker of emotion parsed by cameras lining the route of the funeral cortege. King Charles III ascended the throne not in jubilation, but in a mantle of solemn grief. His reign, long prepared for, began under the shadow of collective mourning, complicating the crucial task of defining a new Carolean era. The Queen's presence had been a stabilizing gyroscope. Her absence created a vacuum of both authority and emotional refuge. This foundational loss was compounded by the subsequent passing of individuals like Prince Philip, whose steadfast, if brusque, support was another pillar removed. The family's grief, though dignified, was necessarily public property, leaving little room for the private, unscripted processing essential to healing.
No analysis of the family's emotional landscape can ignore the seismic fissure caused by the departure of Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Framed initially as a desire for a more independent, financially liberated life, the narrative rapidly escalated into a public airing of profound personal grievances.
Their interviews, documentaries, and memoirs transcended mere celebrity gossip. They presented allegations of a cold institutional protocol over personal welfare, unconscious bias, and a media ecosystem deemed hostile and life-threatening. For the institution, this was a reputational and operational crisis. For the family, it was a deeply intimate wound. The accusations, particularly those concerning race and a lack of support for Meghan's mental health, struck at the heart of the monarchy's modernizing aspirations. But beyond the institutional implications lay a raw human drama. A son and brother alleging his family failed to protect his wife, a prince claiming he was financially cut off, narratives of private arguments and broken trust broadcast to the world. The emotional crisis here is multifaceted. The trauma Harry and Meghan describe experiencing within the system, the hurt and bewilderment reportedly felt by William and Charles at the public nature of the attacks, and the unresolved, frozen grief between brothers who lost their mother together but now seem to inhabit different universes. The Sussex's story frames the monarchy not just as an institution, but as a sometimes dysfunctional family system, where duty stifles dialogue and stiff upper lip curdles into emotional estrangement. The ongoing tension is less a feud and more a chronic, painful stalemate, where every public statement or omitted olive branch in a speech is dissected for meaning, perpetuating the cycle of hurt.
At the center of this storm is King Charles III. His personal journey is uniquely fraught. For decades, he was the perennial heir, a man of often mocked passions and pronounced opinions, waiting in the wings. Now, as monarch, he must subsume the private man into the sovereign. This transition coincides with a period of familial fragmentation and public skepticism. Charles's relationship with both his sons is central to the emotional climate. With Harry, there is the public rupture and the private longing for reconciliation, a desire he has expressed but which seems perpetually out of reach amidst legal battles and competing narratives. With William, the Prince of Wales, the dynamic is one of necessary partnership but also unspoken pressure. William represents the future, a more streamlined, emotionally articulate vision of monarchy. Charles must now lead while consciously building the bridge to his son's reign, a delicate act of simultaneous assertion and succession planning. Furthermore, Charles must manage his own familial role as head of the family, with the imperial demands of being head of state. Does he reach out to Harry as a father or as a monarch assessing a risk? Does he support William as a proud parent or as a king grooming his successor? These dual lenses blur and complicate every interaction. His reign's success is now inextricably linked to his ability to heal or at least stabilize these rifts, a burden no previous monarch has faced in such a glaring media spotlight. If the king bears the weight of the present, the Prince of Wales carries the anxiety of the future. William has been shaped by tragedy from youth, his mother's death teaching him a fierce, protective distrust of the media and a deep commitment to emotional privacy for his own children. The rift with his brother, once his closest ally, represents a profound personal betrayal and loss. William's trajectory is now one of a slimmed-down monarchy, a vision that was ironically prefigured by Harry and Meghan's departure, but under circumstances of toxic discord rather than orderly planning.